bring in our panel. Josh Kroshauer is politics editor for National Journal. Katie Pavlich, news editor at townhall.com. And former Education Secretary Bill Bennett is with us tonight. So, Bill, why don't you start us off? This was never meant to actually advance the matter. It was merely a name-taking exercise. Democrats think that it's going to work in their favor in the November election, but will it?
Well, it may work a little bit, but they have to frame the argument right, and this kind of fantasy stuff doesn't work. This was, paraphrase Shakespeare, full of sound and fury and ominous warnings, but coming to nothing. Really amounting to nothing. This is the most difficult, arguably the most difficult issue in American politics, abortion. When you go to the states, there are real issues to be debated, but not the way they were doing it today, and not the way they're doing it on the street outside of the justices' houses. Let me just add that just before in this channel, a couple hours ago, your governor, the redoubtable Glenn Youngkin, was out saying, we will protect these justices. We will have law enforcement there, and we will write the Attorney General to do his job and enforce the law to protect them.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that in just a second. There was an interesting moment today, Katie, because that vote forced Pennsylvania Senator Bob Casey, who is adamantly pro-life. In fact, his father, the late governor of the state of Pennsylvania, is the Casey in Planned Parenthood versus Casey. He was forced to vote in favor of the measure. And I'm wondering, is that an indication that there's no room to be pro-life in the Democratic Party? And how might that play out in November?
Yeah, there is no room in the Democratic Party to be pro-life. They've taken the position that it was rare. They wanted it to be rare and safe to have an abortion in the 90s to this extreme measure that they voted on today. And for Chuck Schumer to put this on the floor for a vote knowing it was going to fail, it was quite interesting given the lack of political traction that Democrats have been able to get on every single issue that voters are concerned about. But I want to talk about the issue of the Democrats using this for the midterm elections. Midterms, of course, are base turnout elections. That's why they're doing this. But the truth is that they continue to argue that this bill was about codifying Roe. That's absolutely not true. This bill was extreme. It would wipe out basically all state laws when it came to restricting abortion. The majority of Americans believe that abortion should be restricted after 15 weeks. It would force religious institutions to conduct the procedure. It also would get rid of consent laws for parental consent, which 70% of the country supports. And so for Democrats, they're using this to get out their base, understanding that the rest of the country really is not where they are when it comes to unlimited a number of months when it comes to abortion and late term, which the country does not get on board with in any sense of the term, especially on the state level.
Josh, let's talk a little bit about the security issue that Bill Bennett brought up just a second ago. The governors of Virginia and Maryland, Glenn Youngkin and Larry Hogan, did send a letter to the Attorney General asking him to take action. The Attorney General apparently has directed the U.S. Marshal Service to help ensure the justice's safety by providing additional support to the Marshal of the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court Police. But this action out in Virginia and in Maryland and in Washington, D.C., protesting these justices at their homes, that brings up the specter of what happened to Judge Esther Salas in July of 2020, when a crazed person who found out her address shot and killed her son Daniel. Now, it's not to say that these protests are going to erupt in that, but when you dox Supreme Court justices and you publish wide and large their addresses, you leave them open to potential danger here.
Yeah, Democrats are playing with fire here when they refuse to unequivocally condemn this pressure campaign at the Supreme Court justices' own homes, their personal homes, in an attempt to pressure their decision-making on this upcoming case. And keep in mind, the decision has not been made, and federal law is pretty clear that any such, harassment or just undue pressure on judges in particular is against the law. And I've been stunned that, you haven't seen clearer rhetoric from Joe Biden, from the White House, from Jen Psaki. This is the Democrats could get some political traction in defending abortion rights, but they can't do it when they sound extreme, or they're defending the most extreme elements within their own base.
Yeah, on the subject of extreme, a lot of Republicans, Bill, as we switch gears, think that this Disinformation Governance Board is extreme. They're trying to take measures to prevent funding it. Lauren Boebert, the Republican representative from Colorado, said, "I don't think people are fully understanding the severity of what a Ministry of Truth organized by DHS truly means. This is Stalin level. This is Mao level. This is the hill to die on." Is it the hill to die on, Bill?
Well, you know, first of all, it's entirely inappropriate in a free country to have something like this. But you would think this thing would be thrown out immediately on the basis of the fact that the woman is being recommended to head the Ministry of Disinformation has been wrong on everything. She got everything wrong. She disinformed on Hunter Biden. She disinformed on Russian collusion and so on. This is another big fat target Democrats have presented for themselves. A real mistake. We don't need it. We don't want it. And God knows, I think we'll be spared it.
Of course, we all know now, we're very familiar with that Mary Poppins video that Nina Jankowicz did, but we also have a new tweet that has come to light via the Washington Examiner, in which he said on November the 1st, 2020, Trump had not one but two secret email servers to communicate with an influential Russian bank. Unbelievable. Katie, that's disinformation.
Yeah.
That is disinformation. And this is not the only corner of the administration where this disinformation is coming from. The incoming White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, also said that the Georgia election was stolen from Stacey Abrams and that President Trump wasn't a legitimate president. So there is this very serious question about the Biden administration creating this new board, not to serve as a way to tamp down on disinformation, which used to be a term that was reserved for Homeland Security dealing with outside foreign influence and information inside the United States, but to go after political enemies inside the country without any recourse because they're not elected and it's very difficult to get through the bureaucracy and understand what they're doing. And I would note that the DHS secretary can't define what the mission is of the board, and therefore it's rife for abuse.
I wanted to ask Josh about that in the 45 seconds we've got left. The fact that Alejandro Mayorkas knew so little about all of this, what does that say to you?
Not an encouraging sign, John, that it doesn't seem like they vetted Nina Jankowicz, the person who's going to be heading this disinformation committee. I mean, and if you can't vet your own staff and you don't see this stuff that's clearly been out there now for the last week, it's a real big red flag. I would expect that if Republicans take back the House in November, if it still exists by 2023, there's going to be a lot of oversight, and it's not going to last much longer.
All right. Well, I assume that they know a lot more about it now than they did a week ago. Josh Kroshauer, Katie Pavlich, Bill
and uninformed.
Good to see you, folks. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great evening.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.